Hello, I am Jam. So today we are going to talk about the Nativist approaches. Another perspective on first language acquisition is the nativist approach. The term nativist is derived from the fundamental assertion that language acquisition is innately determined, that we are born with a genetic capacity that predisposes us to a systematic perception of language around us, resulting in the construction of an internalized system of language. So, the nativist approach is basically about the theory that we are born with the specific knowledge and capacity to learn a language, that it is part of our genetic makeup. There are several linguists and psychologists associated with nativism, and here are some of them: Jerry Fodor, Steven Pinker, Eric Lindbergh, and the father of modern linguistics, Noam Chomsky. Eric Lindbergh proposed that language is a species-specific behavior and that certain modes of perception, categorizing abilities, and other language-related mechanisms are biologically determined. Language is said to be species-specific or uniquely human, not because it allows us to communicate with each other, but because it allows us to do so with infinite variety, and no other species possess that ability. Yes, other animals indeed have various degrees of communication systems, but they are not complex enough to be considered as language. The main person associated with this approach is Noam Chomsky, who similarly claimed the existence of innate properties of language to explain the child's mastery of a native language in such a short time, despite the highly abstract nature of rules of language. This innate knowledge, according to Chomsky, is embodied in a little black box of sorts called the Language Acquisition Device, or LAD. The LAD is not a literal device or a specific part of the brain, but it is an idea that this ability exists. Other nativists expanded the LAD years after, and they proposed the Universal Grammar, or UG. UG research is attempting to discover what it is that all children, regardless of their environmental stimuli, bring to the language acquisition process. UG implies that all languages have common basic structural features or the same basic elements such as nouns, verbs, and so on. This explains why all children from different parts of the world can learn and pick up on any language they are exposed to. The early grammars of child language were referred to as pipz grammars. It was commonly observed that child's first two-word utterances seem to manifest two separate word classes, and not simply tools that are thrown together at random. Here are some examples. The first rule of the generative grammar of the child is described as follows: sentence, pivot word plus open word. In subsequent years, the generative rule-governed model of the Chomskyan tradition has been challenged by what has come to be known as the parallel distributed processing, or PDP model, also called as connectionism. The parallel distributed processing persists that a child's linguistic performance may be the result of many levels of simultaneous neutral interconnections rather than a serial process of one rule being applied, then another, and so forth. All of these approaches within the nativist framework have made at least three important contributions to our understanding of the first language acquisition process. 1. Freedom from the restrictions of the so-called scientific method to explore the unseen, unobservable, underlying, abstract linguistic structures being developed in the child. 2. Systematic description of the child's linguistic repertoire as either rule-governed or operating out of parallel distributed processing capacities. And lastly, the construction of a number of potential properties of universal grammar. And that's where this topic ends. Thank you for watching.